Congrats to the Dallas Mavericks and Kyrie Irving. I guess he had a player option or something. I don't know how the NBA thing works. He ended up getting 3 years, $119 million deal that he just signed for to remain in the Dallas Mavericks organization. Obviously, the Dallas Mavericks have the number 1 overall pick this evening, and all eyes are on the main event. Joining us now with some breaking news and maybe some more intel on what we'd expect this evening with the NBA draft, senior NBA insider for the ESPN, friend of the program, ladies and gentlemen, Charania.
Hey,
Shams, good to see you. I hear there's some breaking news. Let's hold off on that for about a half a beat or so. Let's talk about Kyrie's deal getting done before the draft here. What does that indicate? What does that mean? And I'm pumped for Kyrie. I assume Dallas is excited for this next era.
Yeah, Pat, this is a Mavericks organization that the easiest decision that they have will be tonight, and that's drafting Cooper Flagg. There's other things on this docket for Nico Harrison, Jason Kidd, and that organization. One was taking care of Daniel Gafford a couple days ago. They reached agreement, 3 years, about $60 million in an extension. So he's there for the long haul. But Kyrie Irving had a $43 million player option. And what made his decision so important is if he opted into that deal, the Mavericks would not have had the ability to go out and use their taxpayer mid-level exception of over $5 million to go get a starting caliber, a player that they feel can come in and start while Kyrie Irving is out potentially until January or February with that torn ACL. So they've been in negotiations for the last really week or so to figure out what does it look like for Kyrie Irving as a member of the Dallas Mavericks. And so if he opted in, they had some issues. But they were able to reach agreement on a 3-year, $119 million deal. I actually spoke to Kyrie Irving late last night, and he told me his decision was made for 3 reasons. One, he wanted to show commitment to Dallas. He feels like they've been committed to him. He wants to build a legacy in Dallas. We know what happened in Brooklyn. There was a tumultuous exit out of Brooklyn. Now he feels like he's in a home environment. And the third pillar is he really does believe, in hearing his voice, that this Mavericks team can win a championship when he's whole again. They have Anthony Davis. They're going to have Cooper Flagg. They have arguably the best front court in the league with Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively II, and Daniel Gafford. They have Klay Thompson at the wing as a shooter. So we'll see how Nico Harrison, that organization, is able to round out this roster. A couple players to keep an eye on with that taxpayer mid-level. D'Angelo Russell, Malcolm Brogdon, Chris Paul, all potential options for the Mavericks with the taxpayer mid-level exception. So this is a deal they got done. Kyrie Irving, $40 million per year essentially. He's going to stay in Dallas. And for the Mavericks, this is good news because they're able to keep their core together for a period of time here.
Congrats to Nico on seemingly piecing together a team that he thinks is going to – they're going to bop wood, too, on the defensive side. He likes to play defense down there with the Dallas Mavericks organization. And Nico might get the last laugh on everybody. Let's talk about some breaking news for today, Shams, I do believe you have.
Pat, so we do have breaking news. Houston Rockets guard Fred VanVleet intends to sign a new 2-year, $50 million contract to stay with the Rockets. He's going to have a player option in the second season in 2026-27. And this essentially gives him $5 more million than the team option that the Rockets have. So the Rockets are declining a $44.9 million team option for Fred VanVleet to give this 2-year deal to him. And the Rockets negotiated this deal with Clutch Sports CEO Rich Paul, and they were able to land a deal that now gives the Rockets flexibility, gives him some comfort in having a 2-year deal with a player option. And next offseason, there is going to be some more salary cap room across the league for Fred VanVleet. But listen, over the last 11 days, we've seen the Rockets extend Steven Adams on a 3-year, $39 million deal. We've seen them trade for Kevin Durant. In the middle of all that, they extended Ime Udoka on a long-term contract extension, gave him 8 figures annually per year, and now they do this new deal with Fred VanVleet. So Rockets ownership, Tillman Fertitta, they had big decisions a couple years ago. What direction were they going to go in? And they signed Fred VanVleet. They signed Dylan Brooks, 2 very important veterans to this team that now is in a position where a lot of people believe they are one of the championship favorites going into next season. And even though this is a 2-year deal, I'm told this is a partnership both sides expect to continue for years to come.
Very active down there in Houston. The Houstonians, we heard Parker McCollum yesterday talk about how every sport we're going to win. That's what's going to happen down here in Houston. Said he didn't like the Dynamo, though. They need to pick it up, especially if you see what the Rockets are doing. Bringing KD down there is just such a massive move. And then keeping your guy, Rich Paul, negotiating a deal to get $6 million more bucks to stay with the team, even though the team had him for $44.9 million. Always working. Player option next year. Hey, you can decide what you want to do next year. Let's go ahead and win it this year. Love what Houston's doing. Congrats to them. All right, let's talk about some more moves that are happening that are lighting up the headlines around the NBA. Go ahead, Connor.
Yeah, Sean, just like you predicted a few months ago, the Celtics are officially blowing up the team that brought them the title. What are you hearing when it comes to the Celtics? Porzingis, he's been moved to Atlanta in a 3-team trade with Brooklyn. And then, of course, I think it was 2 days ago, maybe yesterday, Drew Holiday gets traded as well to Portland. Kind of rumblings that he's not too happy about that. What are you hearing when it comes to both of these trades? And are we going to see another trade here for Boston before the draft starts tonight? Because it feels as though if that doesn't happen before the draft, then it's probably not happening.
BC, we did try to give people a heads up. I mean, it's not a warning that a lot of Boston fans wanted to hear, but we did warn the people. We did warn the people. What we saw in a 24-hour period was essentially the Celtics getting out of the second apron. They shed about $180 million in taxes. So the mission in a lot of ways was accomplished, and the dismantling has happened. And they got rid of two very critical components to that 2024 NBA championship team. So now, of course, all eyes are going to be on Jaylen Brown, Derek White. My sense this morning, on the morning of the NBA draft, unless a team blows the Celtics out of the water, they prefer to keep both Jaylen Brown and Derek White. But again, they are still a first apron team in the tax. They're still a luxury tax-paying team. Their phone lines are open. They're ringing. They're open to the conversations. At minimum, I think players like Sam Hauser, Anthony Simons, we could see potentially being discussed even more. But they've got a very high price threshold on Jaylen Brown and Derek White, from my understanding, from talking to people around the league. Like, if they are going to move either of them, it's going to be a massive haul that they'll get. So they've accomplished the task in a 1-2 day period of getting out of the second apron, the dreaded second apron. But there are still questions what happens. But again, unless someone blows them out of the water, they've given indications that potentially they're just going to move forward. But we'll see. It is the morning of the NBA draft.
Okay, morning of the NBA draft. You said that earlier. That's a great transition for what I was going to ask. Are we going to see a lot of action tonight? It feels like everybody that's been talking about it says there's going to be a lot of action. Does that mean players? Because I heard you just say probably not with the Boston Celtics players. I think the last time a big player move happened on draft night, you and I talked about this earlier, was Jimmy Butler years ago. Is there going to be a lot of movement tonight? And who's and what's going to move if there is movement?
Yeah, the big player movement usually happens in the lead up to the NBA draft or after the NBA draft. The NBA draft is usually what we see and what we're going to see tonight, Pat. In the last 20 years, about 8 first-round picks are being moved, shifted around on draft day. So far, we've already seen 4 going into draft day. So could there be a half dozen more, 10 more? Potentially. In the lottery, it's tough. But could I see about a half a dozen and picks moving up, picks moving down in the first round? For sure. I do get the sense that starting at pick 3 and pick 4, those teams are going to be, 3, 4, 5. Those teams are going to be all ears when they're up to draft. Is there a team that's going to move up to one of those positions and give up future assets? So I definitely think there's a chance we're going to see some significant pick movement. But listen, at 1, Cooper Flagg. Number 2, the Spurs do seem pretty zeroed in on Dylan Harper. They feel like at 6'6", his ability to play positionless basketball, which is exactly what we saw during the NBA Finals, right? With the Pacers and Thunder, it's guys that compete, two-way ability, lengthy, active on both ends. And so they really view Dylan Harper in that same light. Even though they have De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle, they feel like Dylan Harper can fit right in.
Okay, so you said, congrats to Harper, by the way. Sounds like he's number 2 overall pick. Number 1 overall pick. Then you said 3, 4, 5 can get interesting. And I don't think anybody's been saying who exactly number 3 is going to be, because it sounds like we don't know what team's potentially going to trade there. But there has been a player that has certainly rippled some headlines. Go ahead, D-Butch.
Yeah, certainly talented enough. Harper's teammate, Ace Bailey. Any news on him where he may go tonight in the draft?
DB, I spoke to a source close to him this week, and they said that they are very confident and comfortable with where he'll end up in the draft. They feel like whether it's as high as 3 or as low as 8 or 9, they feel like he'll land exactly where he wants to be. And only time will tell. I said it when we were together in Indy. Like, he's either got a method to the madness or all the critics are right. And I do think there is enough evidence right now that shows that, listen, between 3 and 8, somewhere in that range, a team will draft Ace Bailey. It might not be where he wants to go, but this is not a guy that many around the league expect to fall much past, that high lottery position. But of course, this process has been unorthodox. Maybe we'll get more information that maybe he has done a private visit that no one knows about. But as of right now, there's been nothing formal on the record in my conversations with teams in that high lottery position. Teams still have not been able to bring him in for a workout. So we'll get more information soon. I'll be digging more soon. But my feel is he has a good idea and a good feel for what's going to happen tonight.
I heard a clip earlier. He said, I'm just focusing on ball. Just focusing on ball. I loved it. I love the answer. And I hope this works out for him. And if he says we got a spot that we're going to, we've talked about this, I think, in the lead up about him multiple times. Maybe a team made a promise. Now teams lie.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Teams lie in a lot of things, but maybe there is an understanding at a deeper level. Okay, let's talk more about some, not rookies coming in. Let's talk about some established players. Maybe a little bit more movement happening in the city of stars. Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, Shams, do you have any update on what the Lakers are planning on doing? We saw the reports coming out yesterday that said, Luka is committed to getting in shape and working on his cardio, and he's done a lot of that already.
Slim.
Yeah, slim, exactly. And then a report came out last night, too, that they might be interested in Jazz center Walker Kessler. We obviously know last year they were trying to get a center, at the deadline. That fell apart. What are the Lakers going to do? Because they obviously can't just run it back and do what they did last year.
The Lakers have had interest in Walker Kessler for years now, at least the last couple years. But the price tag that the Utah Jazz have had has always been very extreme, multiple first-round picks. So for sure, I would assume that they've called on Walker Kessler. I think they've called on multiple centers around the league. That's their biggest need. And Rob Pelinka has said it openly that we are going to address the center position this offseason. They have a second round pick in the draft tonight. They do have a few tradable salaries as well. Players like Jared Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura. Do they want to do something there? Is there something with Austin Reeves? So I think they're going to have to be open-minded. How do you put the best roster around Luka Doncic, LeBron James? They've said they want to keep Austin Reeves as part of that big three there as well. So, but center is definitely the position to keep an eye on. That's the spot that they're trying to upgrade. And I think tonight, tomorrow, and into free agency as well. The free agency period is one that they can utilize as well. Actually, there's going to be 3 or 4 pretty notable centers: Brooke Lopez, Clint Capella, Al Horford. And Al Horford right now, guys, what's come of Jason Tatum potentially missing all of next season is this uncertainty around Boston. And that's allowed other teams to really start preparing to go after players, whether it's trying to get a Drew Holiday, a Porzingis, a Jaylen Brown, all of those types of guys.
Derek White.
And Derek White as well. But Al Horford is one of those players as well. And I am told he has a pretty robust free agency market outside of Boston potentially this offseason.
Is he going to play till he's 50? Who knows? We shall see.
He really looks like he could. He looks the exact same as he did like 15 years ago.
I've been watching Al Horford play basketball the exact same way, looking the exact same, seemingly my entire adult life. Yep. And he's not gotten, he's the exact same. Steady. Good for him. Keep getting your money, man. Keep playing. We love it.
He's clean. He keeps it clean. He keeps the face clean, and he's just looks the same way, steady every single year. Yep. Yeah, produces, and great leader.
You said there's a chance there's good centers on the market. Might be one of the greatest of all time. Go ahead, Tone.
Yeah, Shams, you mentioned it earlier, the dreaded second apron when you were talking about the Celtics. Well, yesterday, Vice Chairman of the Nuggets, Josh Kroenke, made some news when he said this.
I think that for us as an organization, going into that second apron is not necessarily something that we're scared of. I think that there are rules around it that we needed to be very careful of with our injury history. The wrong person gets injured, and very quickly you're into a scenario where that I never want to have to contemplate, and that's trading number 15. And can when the moment arrives, but that second apron, is it a hard cap? I'm not 100% sure, but it's something that teams are obviously very aware of. going forward.
Shams, what the hell does that mean? Everyone's talking about the second apron and teams having to cut players because of that. Is there actually, did he say that just because, or is it actually a chance that Jokic can hit the market someday?
The way I looked at that is it was an analogy. I know personally Josh Kroenke would never consider or want to trade Nikola Jokic. When the Luka Doncic trade happened, Nikola Jokic is one of those types of players that you never would expect to just be willingly traded. And, people around Denver know, like, they're never trading Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic, by all accounts, has never looked like he wants to be traded. He's probably somewhere on his horses. He has no idea, Josh Kroenke said. He cares. I doubt if there's a player that is out of sight, out of mind as much in the offseason, it's him. But I mean, the reality is for the Celtics, that's what has happened, right? Like a player gets traded. But again, you're not just going to, if they move Jaylen Brown, then maybe it isn't a real analogy. Jaylen Brown was the finals MVP. He's an amazing top tier player as well. Nikola Jokic, obviously a multi-time MVP of the regular season and all the other good stuff. So I think this was a great analogy. I guess a good analogy that he in his mind, but clearly I don't know if it went.
Highlights just straight through. I saw a double-handed bat over the head like this, running full speed.
Look at he's just flicking it.
He's unbelievable.
That pass was absurd.
All the passes, all these shots are outrageous. It looks like he's just, I guess, and then it's splash. It's not. Yeah, that one right there. Boom. Yep, somebody will be there. Certainly. Let me go ahead and post or somebody. I mean,
but they've had injuries though. The thing that I don't know, like Jamal Murray tore his ACL, but again, it was before this new CBA kicked in. But they've had injuries. They've gotten through it in Denver, so. Injuries are a part of the game. I don't know if I'm moving Nikola Jokic for an injury, though.
No, I don't think he is either. Do you think he was saying that because he wanted to, point something out, like how ridiculous a new rule is or something? Like, why do you think he would?
I think it's a great analogy to look at if you're the Celtics, right? Like, the fact that it's even a conversation about moving Jaylen Brown and Derrick White, those are two really great players. Those are two cornerstones for you to win a championship. When Jason Tatum is back healthy, you hope you have a chance to get back there. You need those types of guys. But the financial reality is that if you're a second apron, first apron team, there
what does this mean? What does this mean? These aprons have been tossed around. So he was clearly saying that was a protest statement, I think, in my eyes. I don't know what the aprons mean, but he was saying that to say these are ridiculous rules. There might be something that'll happen where I have to I don't want to ever contemplate getting rid of Joker because of financial thing. What does he mean? He's definitely saying that he doesn't like the way it's currently set up. We've heard apron, we've heard second apron. These are different cap areas of amount of money you could spend on your entire team.
There's the salary cap, of course. Then there's the luxury tax. So teams have historically been paying the luxury tax. And then it's kind of like setting something of, when I talk teams, they just consider it to be something of a hard cap, right? And that starts with the first apron, and that comes with more punitive taxes. And then the second apron is really where you just, it's been described to be as everything just freezes up. Your exceptions freeze up. Your ability to make trades sometimes free up or frozen up. They're not freed up. So you have to get to a certain salary, otherwise you can't make trades, you can't make sign-in trades, and that all makes roster building. Essentially, you're limited to minimums every single year, potentially. And so those are all issues that come with the second apron. So if you're trying to be flexible, you're trying to go get this player or that player, or shift your team in this way. Let's say you fall short. Like the Suns, for an example, right? Like they spent a couple of years, like Matt Ishbia, their owner, very aggressive. He went all in. But it came with the second apron year after year after year. And there comes a point where if you're trying to retool the team or build differently, there are issues that come with the second apron.
Okay, so this was put into place how long ago? And it was because the NBA didn't want super teams? Is that basically why it happened? The owners didn't want that to happen?
I think it was 2023, the new CBA agreement. I believe it was 2 years ago. And, I mean, part of it is the parity. The part of it is, you encourage players to stay with their team. I think the other part of it is just, that's the PA and the league. That's what they negotiated. And so I do think it has, to an extent, made it a lot trickier for teams. In free agency, what we're seeing right now is a lot of players re-signing with their team because there's not much money in the market. Now, next summer, I think we'll get about 10 teams with cap space. This year, there's really only a couple, and Brooklyn is really the real team with max salary space. I remember growing up, I used to watch the league, and it's like every year 4 or 5 teams would have max space, and free agency is through the roof.
Okay, so we just got something off of Reddit here, and you tell us if this is real.
There you go.
So the second apron is a salary cap threshold. So basically, there's a salary cap, then there's a luxury tax area where you're paying for it, then there's a first apron where you're paying luxury tax plus you're getting some other penalties. Then there's a second apron where you're paying luxury tax and tax on top of that, and also you can't aggregate contracts and trades. You can't trade multiple players in the same deal. You can't send cash out in trades. You can't use trade exceptions from previous years, and you can't trade first round picks that are 7 years in the future. Okay, and we know the NBA loves that.
They love doing it.
6 years though.
6, yeah,
You're
exactly.
okay.
That's still a long time. Okay, so there's just basically they're trying to make a hard cap. It's like, but it's way after all their other caps, and they had to start imposing bigger penalties because Ishbia told us that his fans don't care if he has to pay a luxury tax for paying more money. So, like, in a way, the owners, Ishbia at least, felt obligated to spend his money. So there was the rules put in place, like, hey, if you do that, you're going to be kind of punished. How long are these teams going to be punished for? And how long will this last forever? Is this going to be a thing that's forever? Or is there teams that are against it? Because it sounds like Kroenke is not necessarily for this particular thing if you listen to the answer that he gave.
Yeah, they signed a decade-long CBA, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And so, this will be around for a long time. And I think a lot of people thought, it's going to restrict trades. But what we've seen, it's actually made trades even more doable.
Yeah, got to get money off. Got to get money off. Yeah, we got to get money off the books.
We had the most active trade deadline just now. We've already seen so many trades happen, and we're not even at the draft or free agency period yet. So I think it's definitely made transactions. Teams are more willing. Teams are more active. Teams are more. If they have issues, they have to get through with their second apron and all that. Like this is the time to do it.
And can they just automatically get done? So if they go from second apron to first apron to luxury tax time, that could just happen overnight if they're able to do that, or is there imposing penalties for like a few years because you were in the second apron?
No, it happened with the Celtics in the span of 24 hours. They traded Jrue Holiday, traded Kristaps Porzingis, so they got out of the second apron, and now they're in the first apron. And it's about a little over $15 million. If they shed that, they get out of the first apron, and I believe they approach getting themselves out of the luxury tax entirely. So that's why there are mechanisms. If the Celtics, if they're in the first apron now, they're going to be in the first apron next year. Pay a punitive tax. Like we see right there, if they trade, another $15 to $20 million, they could find themselves completely out of it.
Go ahead, Connor.
Yeah, but doesn't this kind of contradict itself? Because if they're trying to make players or want players to stay with their teams instead of forming those big super teams, but then the supermax deals for these players are based on how long
and bigger
you're with that team. Yeah, so like SGA is going to get $78 million or $80 million a year because he's been with OKC for so long. But like a player drafted by them, like Holmgren or Jalen Williams, won't they be screwed because of that? Like the Brooklyn Nets have 5 first-round picks, and if they somehow, some way draft 5 Hall of Famers, won't they just be screwing themselves because all 5 of those players are going to be able to get like the super max deal in theory, but then because of the luxury tax and first and second apron, they'll have to get rid of those guys.
Now you're creating competition within the locker room. You're getting people to turn against each other.
It's contradictory.
Sports business, baby.
And that's definitely an issue with the
business
CBA,
code.
right? Like,
yeah, because the Celtics, that's the Celtics have 2 max players, and that's how we got here. Is that our 2 best players, the 2 players we've drafted that we've always had. So they got the most super max that they could get.
Yeah, but boy, you're running up that ladder towards the luxury tax, towards the first apron with those 2 guys.
That's what I'm saying.
Can't pay them all.
that's why what Jalen Brunson did, giving up the amount that he gave up last summer. I mean, that has put the Knicks in position where they're not necessarily dealing with, hey, we have to shed this salary or that salary because of X, Y, Z. So I think we'll see. Like in Oklahoma City, they have 3 essentially max caliber players, like in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, and Jalen Williams, aka J-Dub. If those guys all get the full super max or the full maxes, we'll be having similar conversations potentially about them in 2 or 3 years. And yeah, that is a byproduct of the CBA. I don't know if that was the intention, but clearly it has had an impact.
You want to know what happened in our CBA that was a reverse impact than what everybody thought? So the rookie men is like 850,000, we'll say 900,000. Or I'm sorry, the veteran min is like 850, 900,000. And then the rookie min was like 300,000, 400,000. And they're like, veterans that are on min contracts deserve to make more. You've been in the league longer. You deserve for your min to be worth more. And then all teams saw was that $500,000 difference. So if we cut 3 of these vets and we get 3 rookies in here, we get 1.5 million more towards our cap. It was like nobody thought that was going to be it like axed out an entire generation of veteran like min players. Like, see you later. So there's always like some sort of side effect. The homegrown players not being able to stay, like, we legitimately can't have you stay home. You're going to have to go play somewhere else if a couple of your teammates are very good, is a wild scene that everybody's hoping for, I would assume.
And dynasties, like, it damn near kills dynasties. Like, if we're talking about OKC becoming a dynasty, if they don't win it next year and go back-to-back, like, well, the year after, they're going to have to get rid of one of their best players.
Yeah, but you got to find another one.
The big picture, though, leagues don't necessarily want dynasties, especially NBA. They want parity. Like, it's 7 different winners in the last 7 years. And then the Brunson thing, him taking, I think he left $100 million on the table so that they can build. That's not what the PA wants. The PA
no way.
Wants, like, max level players to
brother, we negotiated super max.
And the dynasty thing, though, it's like the last highest rated game before that game 7 was the end of a dynasty. So it's like
Indiana, the Oklahoma City never won. Ratings are up, is what they would say.
True.
Like, they would like everybody to have a chance to win. Purpose of the aprons here. The NBA's apron system is designed to curb excessive spending by teams and promote parity amongst teams. It aims to create a more level playing field. Yada yada yada. That's what they're looking for. All right, Shams, we know it's a very busy day for you, draft day. We've eaten up a lot of your time. We appreciate the hell out of you. Good luck tonight. Are you on the show?
Appreciate y'all. I am on the NBA draft show tonight. So tune in. First ever on ESPN. Let's get it. Let's get it.
Let's go, Shams. You earned it. Ladies and gentlemen, Shams Charania.
Good night.
I'm on fire. The city, yeah, I'm